Hello, welcome back. In this lecture we are going to animate the camera, which effectively means adding keyframes and stuff. We will also change the curve's tilt to adjust the angle of our camera on the curve. To start any animation process, you are going to need a timeline editor. We can also set the end keyframe to 350 frames instead of 250 frames. To know the amount of seconds of your animation, divide the set frame rate with the end frame value, in our case 350 divided by 30, which is around 11.7 seconds. Now we can set the evaluation time to 0 and keyframe it with the I hotkey, while having your active frame on frame 1. Then we can change the active frame to 350, which would be the end of the animation. Now, as was done on frame 1, we will also keyframe the evaluation time value on frame 350. However, we will not keyframe the evaluation time value on the value 100 because this would cause our sphere and camera to be on the same position, causing problems for the camera tracking the sphere. So it's best to keyframe the evaluation time at around 95. So that our camera stays behind our sphere. Now when we slide our active frame or green vertical bar on the timeline, you can see our camera and sphere traversing the curved path. The next thing we can do is to slide out another window area. Then we can set this window to the graph editor. Here you can also see the keyframes of the selected object. You can see that the interpolation is a Bezier or ease in and ease out. So we need this red line to be linear or straight. This will make our camera traverse the curve at the same speed from frame 1 to 350. We can pop up the required menu with the interpolation choices with the T hotkey. Then we can choose linear. You see that the red line has become a straight line. You can verify this by playing the animation or moving the green slider. We can collapse the graph editor window and in the 3D viewport switch to camera view with the numpad 0 key. You can see when we scroll through the frames with the time slider on our timeline that our camera is fairly static when it comes to the rotation along the curve axis. Since we want our camera to kind of have a roller coaster style tilt on the curve in terms of the rotation, you might think that with the camera selected we can keyframe the rotations while being in camera view mode. However, there is a much better way to adjust the tilt of our camera on different points of the curve in our case. This is to directly tilt the normals of the curve itself via the control handles in edit mode. So we can select our curve and enter edit mode with the tab key. You can see the normals represented as those short black lines along the curve. In this case, the normals determine the rotational flow of our camera and sphere, although it is irrelevant for our sphere in this case. You can select one of the handle points of the curve where your camera is closest to. When you then press Ctrl T, you can tilt the normals of that section of the curve, effectively transferring that tilt to the camera as well. So now I advise you to go ahead and change the tilt of the curve where you feel it is appropriate. It helps sliding the green time slider to have your camera on the place where you want to change the tilt. This way you can see the effect on the camera straight away. After you have adjusted the tilt of the curve handles to give the camera a more fluid rotation along the curve, we can check out the animation in camera view to see if you like the flow of the animation. Again, make sure you have set the frame rate to 30 in the render settings. When you are satisfied with the work so far, you can save your blend file. Always remember to save. So thanks for watching and see you in the next lecture where we will create the wormhole object.